Once first practice started, it was very apparent that there was something a little bit fishy with all the Saar and Leonard cars in the field because they were all wearing tires at a much slower rate than the rest of the field. Tire life for all the other chassis was about, 5 or 6 laps, whereas the Saars and Leonards could push it to 25 or so, if they really wanted to, but it appeared that 20 would be about the optimal tire life for most of the field, at least for the Saars and Leonards. 5 laps if you're anyone else. And that's where controversy started. Leonid Roderick, on the Thursday, said that the Saar and Leonard teams had obviously been cheating, and that the concrete surface of the Texas World Track, which is not used all that often, was bringing it out and making it more apparent than it would anywhere else. And then, well, the numbers reel in. 15 cars hit the wall in first practice from tire blowouts. All of them were other chassis other than Saars and Leonards, and there were many meetings of the minds in the paddock, and we honestly had no idea what we were going to see coming into the weekend when the green flag dropped. And in order to see what happened then, I'm going to throw it over to you, Dan. Thank you, Lance. Round 5 of the TM Master Cup Series saw Ryan Araki in the 32 car take out the Clutch Pole Award. This is the first parade lap. Notice all 42 cars running fairly normally around the racetrack here. Coming around for the second parade lap, though, over half the field pulled into the pits. All the teams not running the Saar or Leonard chassis pulled into the pit lane, feeling, of course, that the Saar and Leonard cars were not playing fair as far as tire wear was concerned, and they thought that there was something a little bit questionable about the way that the Saar and Leonard cars were wearing tires. Naraki pulled off into the lead. Eisenman took second from Durbin. Here they come to turns 3 and 4 on the first lap, and they're all pretty much single file until you get to the back of the field. However, the cars that qualified at the back of the field, in actuality, had qualified about midfield. So that would be cars like Allie Riggs and Chris Allen, who made up the last row 8 in this case. And both of those cars had qualified in the top half of the field, so there was still a decent qualifying run for both Riggs and Allen. However, the lack of competition probably made this race a lot easier for them. Another Arla star, Chris Johans, the defending series champion over in Arla, qualified, well, 4th. And you can see the field behind him is all strung out in single file by about lap 3. Justin Brooks in the 12 and Garth McAllister Jr. in the 17, subbing for Joseph Howard, who's still sitting out a couple rounds. We're having very good runs. Well, very good points runs. Both these cars probably weren't the fastest out there. They haven't been all year. On board Allie Riggs, another view at how amazingly single file the field is. Riggs was still not able to fight her way through the field, and this season was not going very well for Allie Riggs. She was touted as going to be the runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year, and this season for her in the TM Master Cup Series has been, to put it lightly, an absolute catastrophe. Riggs, for whatever reason, is not taken on to the TM Master Cup Series cars after a lot of high expectations from Arla. Another rookie with high expectations that hasn't exactly been fulfilling them yet is David Krikorian in the 9. However, this could be something he needs. A good points haul to get the 9 car locked into the field so that DK has something other to worry about than qualifying. And here's Rachel Rainsford in the 99, running side by side with Paul Lyons, and then Damian Snyder in the 11 is going to take a 3 wide, some of the only 3 wide we actually saw in the early stages of the event, to be fair. Snyder was going to dive to the bottom. Rachel Rainsford looks like she's going to have to give it up a little bit. Paul Lyons has a little bit of extra speed on the outside. Snyder in the 11 makes a move. David Krikorian trying to decide who to back, but he's going to stick with his teammates. For the most part, Krikorian and Rachel Rainsford, if you haven't figured it out, are teammates. The number style in the cars look pretty much the same anyway. Krikorian ends up diving to the low side because that is the better way to go. Anthony Evans in the 10 car loses the pack after something happens to the car. We're not entirely sure what. However, he keeps going. Tony Durbin leads the field down into the pit lane for green flag pit stops in the 33 car, and then the rest of the field follows suit. Ryan Naraki in the 32 leads the field down at about lap 18. However, the pit lane was a little bit chaotic. Chris Johans in the 22 car pulls into the pit lane, and then this is where trouble starts. Colin Evans is a bit of a brain fart and runs right into the back of Johans, and Justin Brooks spins sideways. Another look at it. Brakes on the left, Colin. Drew Eisenman in the 31 car had some kind of problem in the pit lane, and he took about 5 laps before he had gotten off the pit lane. The same happened with Gary Edwards in the 8 car, this suggesting that National Racing was trying some new parts in those 2 cars, and they weren't working very well. Tony Durbin in the 33 car came out of the pits as the leader, putting Dale Roswell, who was doing very well in the point standings, a lap down. Paul Lyons would be sitting in second, Ryan Naraki in third, and David Krikorian in the background would be running in fourth. A very good run so far for DK. Anthony Evans would be sitting in fifth. Apparently whatever problem he had with the car was corrected, and that would be Chris Allen right behind him. And then Allie Riggs would be sitting in the 8th position. Excuse me, 7th. The only car to retire from that pit lane scuffle was Colin Evans, so karma does have a strange way of working. Justin Brooks will be sitting in 9th in the 12 car. Paul Lyons lead the field back into the pit lane for green flag pit stops. He pit a lap earlier than teammate Durbin in the 33. Durbin, though, had a faster pit stop. Some cars took advantage of everyone else making green flag pit stops. David Krikorian and Ryan Araki were 2 of them. The idea for them was to stay out and rack up some bonus points. DK trying to rack up his first lap lead of the year. That didn't happen right there. Ryan Naraki in the 32 and Krikorian both pitted a lap after most everybody else. However, coming out of the pit lane, something a little strange happens here between the 32 and the 9. Krikorian just seems to get a better run on Naraki coming off the pit lane, and Naraki just pulls into the grass and lets him through. Not really sure what that's all about. Wonder if Ryan knew he was racing the 9 for position. Normally, the 32 car in a race is miles and miles ahead of the 9. I can't help to wonder, but if he just wasn't paying attention. Anyway, in the closing stages of the race, Naraki in the 32 car and Krikorian in the 9 would be sitting inside the top 5. Naraki would be sitting back in the 5th position, Krikorian in 3rd. Paul Lyons would be sitting in 2nd, and Tony Durbin would be way, way out in the lead. In the closing stages of the race, Krikorian would be able to get around Lyons in the 21 car and say sayonara, running away from him, and then Ryan Araki would be chasing down Anthony Evans in the 10 car, who would recover from that strange problem he had earlier on, and would be running in 4th. And at the same time as Krikorian was passing Lyons, here comes Naraki on Anthony Evans, and makes a nice sweeping move around him and takes 4th position. Here's another look at it. Get a good view of both cars making their designated overtaking moves. Naraki moving up into 3rd, or into 4th, and then would decide 4th isn't good enough for him. He wants 3rd. Here comes Paul Lyons. Paul Lyons really does not have enough for Naraki here, and then Naraki has nothing to do but chase David Krikorian. All in the while, Tony Durbin in the 33 car has built up an absolutely massive lead, and Tony Durbin would run on to take his first win of the season in front of his home crowd. Unfortunately, some of his teammates, Drew Eisenman notably, did not have as good a run as Durbin, and probably a good thing that Tony Durbin didn't do burnout, seeing as only 16 cars started the race. David Krikorian ended up finishing 2nd, best career finish for him. Ryan Naraki 3rd, Anthony Evans 4th, Paul Lyons 5th, Chris Allen 6th, one of his better finishes, though he does have a pair of 2nds. Rachel Rainsford sits 7th, Allie Riggs in 8th, so that's the top half of the field. Justin Brooks 9th, and Dale Roswell 10th to make up the top 10, one of Brooks' better finishes in the Master Cup Series. Needless to say, the point standings will be shaken up quite a bit. Dale Roswell will be leading them with Tony Durbin 2 points behind. Rachel Rainsford 3rd. Chris Johans jumps up to 4th. Snyder 5th, 52 markers off the lead. Alan Hodges led coming into the weekend. And that just shows how much sitting out one race can do you. 58 points is how many Hodges drops behind the leader. Ryan Araki's sits 7th, Palmer Styles in 8th, Gary Edwards 9th, and then Scott Bates, who did not start, in 10th. Scott Bates runs La Volpe. And here's 11 through 20. Alexis reigns for the defending Master Cup Series champion, 85 markers behind. Leonid Roderick has won the points championship 3 times, sits 12th. Danny Salvin in the 91 car, 13th. Kurt Pliskin, 14th. Kingston, Kekkonen, Sandoval, Peterson, Roth, and Wlodarczyk all chose not to start the race. However, I wouldn't be too surprised if these point standings changed or if this race ends up becoming a non-championship event. But seeing as how all the other teams did not take it up with the officials before deciding to park before the race started, I wouldn't consider that too likely. That's all for this week of the TM Master Cup Series. I'll see you next time.